92.7. Coming up in the next 1.5 hours tonight, NDC set condition for peace pact as National Peace Council urges the party to let bygones be bygones and cooperate to ensure tranquility in the polls.
Duty to ensure that we put the necessary measures in place to ensure that that peace council functions and functions well. It is.
We've got details of that ongoing meeting between a 13-member Peace Council committee and the opposition NDC. Also this evening, day one of the voter exhibition exercise. Low turnouts observed over the period. We'll tell you exactly what happened before 5 p.m.
Some good news for students because Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, has formally called off its strike, but warns it will resume the industrial action if the government fails to resolve outstanding issues by end of October.
Romania Election Command Center with some 109 days to election day, December 7, 2024. This is your Election Command Center. We have updates for you on the Konfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital renal unit overwhelmed with patients following rollout of the free dialysis program. Update on that shortly. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond.
All these details plus business and sport in the next 90 minutes. For now though, Grace Hamwajiman is here with the latest in summaries. Grace, what you have?
Beatrice, so let bygones be bygones. That is the appeal the National Peace Council is making to the National Democratic Congress as the country prepares for the crucial 2024 elections. The council says it is high time the party deals with animosity or suspicions that may affect the conduct of the polls following the disturbances and death that characterized the 2020 polls. A 13-member committee was formed to come up with codes of conduct to ensure peace in subsequent elections. The Code of Conduct on Vigilantism and Election-Related Violence introduced itself to the NDC. Away from that, President Akrofi has described as needless the controversy that greeted the decision to cede some interest in hotels owned by the Social Security and National Insurance Trust SNIT to his Minister for Agriculture, Brian Champon's Rock City Hotels. The president says such comments affect the long-term interests of SNIT. Meanwhile, organized labor has proposed a constitutional amendment for a union government. According to Labour, the union government will foster political stability and economic growth. And before we go, the West African Examination Council has said it has noted with concern grant schemes by a number of institutions to engage in mass cheating during this year's West African Senior School Certificate Examination for school candidates. The council says intelligence information picked up indicates that candidates in some parts of the country are being charged sums of money between 200 and 500 cedis in order to receive assistance from invigilators, while supervisors at some centers are planning to assign teachers to invigilate subjects they teach. A statement from the council cautioned all heads of schools, supervisors and invigilators to desist from this practice, as all those involved will be dealt with according to the rules and regulations of the examination. That's it for the news summaries.
Thank you very much, Grace Hamwajiman. Let's bring you the details of our stories now. And indeed, let bygones be bygones. That is the appeal the National Peace Council is making to the National Democratic Congress as the country prepares for the crucial 2024 elections. The council says that it is high time the party dealt with animosity or suspicions that may affect the conduct of the polls. Now, following the disturbances and deaths that characterized the 2020 polls, a 13-member committee was formed to come up with code of conduct to ensure peace in subsequent elections. The committee, which came up with a code of conduct on vigilantism and election-related violence, introduced itself to the NDC. Now, speaking on behalf of the committee, Movi bin Sali urged the party to cooperate with the council.
That we put the necessary measures in place to ensure that that peace council functions and functions well. It is a collective venture, and this is the reason why we are here with you today, to fraternize with you, to give you the assurances that we are ready to listen, and to give you the assurances that at any point in time, if we need consultation, we will come to you, and to assure you that at any point in time, if you have any reason to believe that something is left out, what we were supposed to do, we haven't done it, you comfortably draw our attention, and we'll do that the best we can to address issues of that nature. We are here to appeal and that to you to kindly do your best to erase any animosity whatsoever if it does exist. Any suspicion whatsoever if it does exist. We are only here to plead that let us decide and agree to make a start. And it is never too late to make a start because we have elections ahead of us. And if we decide in a healthy manner, which I believe we are starting, we would be able to do things better than we did in the past. There's no reason why a Ghanaian must lose his life because of elections. The Peace Council cannot succeed without the input of the National Democratic Congress. Our plea is, let us let bygone be bygone. Not that we forget it. No sensible person can forget his past, because the past can always guide us as we move ahead. But we can shelve it with the hope that yes, we will be able to do better. We have what it takes to do much better than we are doing now.
And you heard them over being Saleh. He is a member of the National Peace Council. He spoke on behalf of that 13-member committee, which was formed to come up with a code of conduct to ensure peace in elections in Ghana. Christian Yale is at that meeting. He joins us live now. Christian, has the NDC set out terms for, or actually give us details of the terms the NDC is giving ahead of signing any peace pact at all?
All right, Beatrice, so as you can hear, even in the background, members of the NDC who are currently at the party headquarters are chanting, we no go sign, essentially making the point that if the Peace Council needs any party to sign the peace pact and ensure that there is peace in the election, they should start from the governing New Patriotic Party, especially with members like Brian Achampong and the like who have made comments that they deem to be intemperate or comments that they deem to be insightful comments. And so the NDC has presented about 6 conditions to the Peace Council, which they want the Peace Council to ensure that these conditions are met before they would sign the peace pact. And to run it through them briefly, the NDC is saying that following the Ayawaso West Mogon by-election violence, they want to see the full implementation of the investigations that were conducted into that. The second condition is that they want to see the initiation of prosecution into all the violence that happened during the 2020 elections. And so they want to see the prosecution of the printing of ballot papers. They claim that they have not heard anything concerning some ballot papers that were printed. The NDC says it intercepted a number of ballot papers and other illegalities that happened. The next condition, which makes it a third, is that they want to see the investigations that are ongoing into the missing IT equipment. And so they believe that if the persons or the suspects who stole these equipment have been arrested, then where are the tech equipment themselves that were stolen? And so the NDC is, among other things, asking that, the Peace Council ensures that investigations are conducted into it, and then whatever outcomes are arrived at are made visible or public for all to see. It also raises concerns about what they term political attachment to the Electoral Commission, citing the example of Dr. Peter Apiahene, for instance. The NDC says they want the president, Nana Abadanko Akufo-Addo, to declare openly, not on any political platform, but to address the country publicly and to declare that he is going to accept the outcome of the 2020 general election. And then finally, the NDC says it wants to see or before it signs the peace pact, it wants to see the Inspector General of Police, the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, the National Security Coordinator, among other high-profile personalities, sign the peace pact before the NDC as a party will endorse it or append its signature to the peace pact.
So these are the 6 conditions the NDC has set in place. Was there any immediate reaction or response from the Peace Council to these?
Exactly, and so the committee that has been established by the Peace Council, which is the Committee on Code of Conduct and Election-Related Violence, immediately responded to some of these concerns. For instance, the committee mentions the fact that some of these conditions can be better met if they are handled by the security or the judiciary. And so the committee is saying that it cannot prosecute, for instance. It cannot arrest people, for instance. And so for some of these conditions to be met, it can only liaise with the appropriate agencies and serve as an intermediary body. Some of these conditions are met. And so the party should not bank all of its hopes and demands on the committee or the Peace Council, as it may not be able to meet some of them personally or as an institution or as a body. So those were the immediate reactions from the Peace Council, that some of their conditions go beyond the council and would require appropriate agencies to come in.
Christian, earlier you spoke about supporters of the NDC being outside and chanting "We no go sign." Is this meeting over, and have you seen any official of the NDC speaking to these individuals about the need, or at least giving them information as regards what's transpired at this meeting?
Yes, the meeting has ended. As of now, no official of the party has come to address these members of the party. And this is interestingly, whatever the party members are saying are almost the reflection of the leadership of the party. And so you don't expect the officials of the party to come and tell them to stop chanting "We no go sign" or to do otherwise. Currently, though, as I speak, their voices are down. And so, representatives from the Peace Council who came to meet the party officials have just exited the NDC's national headquarters and have left for their various destinations. And so the meeting has ended. It is expected that this committee that has been formed by the Peace Council would go ahead to also meet the New Patriotic Party and meet other representatives as well, and other political parties.
Thank you very much, Christian Yale. He's our reporter giving us live updates from that meeting between the NDC and the National Peace Council. Executives of the NDC and the National Peace Council. We're joined on the line also by Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere. He's a political analyst at the University of Cape Coast. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Beatrice. Unfortunately, your network has been very terrible.
Forgive us, but I hope you can hear us.
I'm struggling to hear you.
Hello? Okay, let me at least try and ask you the first question. Hopefully you should be able to hear. But we just heard our reporter running us through the conditions the NDC has given the National Peace Council if indeed the council wants the party to sign the peace pact ahead of the 2024 general election. I'll just run you through very briefly, since you're saying the line is bad. I assume that you probably didn't hear much of it. It says the NDC is demanding full investigations into full investigations into and also implementation of prosecution of culprits in that electoral violence in 2020, forgive me, and also those who are involved in ballot paper issues, investigations into missing IT equipment and publishing of it, appointment of some MPP supporters to the EC. President must publicly say that he will accept the election results in 2024, and also the security chiefs must sign the peace pact. Are these conditions reasonable ahead of the NDC deciding to sign the peace pact or not, from where you sit?
Beatrice, good evening once again. If the producers of the program could call back again, I'll be very much glad, because I struggle to hear anything that you said.
We do apologize for the quality of the line there, Alfred, but hopefully we're able to reconnect to Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere for him to give us his thoughts on these conditions given by the NDC before it decides to sign the Peace Pact.
And certainly so. This is one that we have eyes on, and also ensuring that we keep our listeners and our viewers on Facebook updated on this. Social live here on your Election Command Center, also on TV3 Ghana, on 3FM 927, also on 3news.com. We keep an eye on that one as well and be updating our viewers and our listeners on this. But keep your thoughts coming in at 3FM 927, read out to you and to the rest of the world. Let's cross over to the NDC headquarters, where this meeting between the NDC and the Peace Council is taking place, for some more updates.
Right to ask me, why didn't you call out? And if you and on the other hand, if it don't, because there are two ways, it can fall on you too. And if it does, and I take it up, you must have the moral courage to agree that yes, you gave me that mandate. So that is really the straightforward thing that we are coming with you. We just want you to accept us. That don't throw us away with the, do you say bath water? The baby. We are the baby. Don't throw us away. Yes. Because like I said, I'm only reiterating that I believe that the best thing, one of the best things this country has done for itself is putting in place a Peace Council. It is for us to ensure that that Peace Council lives up to its calling. So, in a nutshell, I think this is what I can say, and that is just our mission.
In fact, that's just to give you an idea of what's happening there as we speak now at the NDC's headquarters, where the party's General Secretary, Fifi Viavikwete, is there together with Kakra Esuma, also there, who is just in charge of communications. We also have some other members of the National Council of the National Democratic Congress, all at this said meeting, together with members of the National Peace Council. What the man you just heard is Marvi Bin Sali, who is leading that delegation from the National Peace Council at the NDC headquarters as we speak.
Let's try and see whether we can have Jonathan Asante-Okyere. It looks like we've lost him again on the line. We'll try and reconnect to him and bring you his thoughts.
Well, while we are at it, let me just give you some information just coming through right now here on Hot Edition. A violent clash at a Sin Insuta Agriculture Senior High School has left 5 students injured. The brawl at the school in the Central Region occurred between Form 2 and Form 3 students. According to the Assemblyman for Asin Insuta Bepokoto electoral area, Bashiru Kwame Amakra, the conflict began when a Form 3 student was caught in a sexual encounter with a former Form 1 student on campus. The senior student reacted by slapping a Form 2 student who happened to witness the incident, and that's what's happened right now. The police later intervened to restore order. The assistant headmaster in charge of administration also sustained some injuries as a result of this clash between the Form 2 and Form 3 students of that particular school. The headmaster also took some students to the police station to seek a medical form to the hospital for treatment. So that's what's happened in this Asin Insuta Agricultural Senior High School. We're keeping an eye on that as well here on Hot Edition. Our reporter Thomas Khan will give us updates shortly. But also the Amasaman Police Command has commenced investigations into an alleged murder near Kwan's estate. That's somewhere around Satellite in Kuntunse. Now this was after General Constable Smith Jechi surrendered to the Amasaman Police Command and was arrested for the alleged murder of one Stanley Ahaji. His pistol has been retained for investigation. On August 18, 2024, at around 4 a.m., the police control room received a report that a male adult had been shot dead at the frontage of a said estate in Satellite Kuntunse. Deputy Superintendent of Police DCOP Adamu Muniru, the Agent Kotoku Crime Officer, and Assistant Superintendent of Police Agnes Abwaji, the Night Monitoring Officer, arrived at the scene with investigator DPW Inspector Letitia Ajay. Now, they found a 25-year-old male adult lying dead in a supine position, his body covered in blood. According to the team, Sport investigations revealed that General Constable Jechi of the Police's International Relations Directorate was driving a Deo Matis private car with the registration number GW6459-2021 that was being utilized commercially. They said that at about 3 a.m., the suspect transported a witness, Esther Uswa, from Ablekumajuma to the said estate area around Kuntunse. The police said the witness lost direction and contacted Ahaji to meet them at the estate gate. They said when Ahaji arrived at the said scene, there was a misunderstanding about the fare charged. Jechi became agitated and shot the victim with his sidearm without provocation. So that's according to the preliminary information we have from the Ghana Police Service right now. So this one that we're keeping an eye on as well. We're updating our listeners on this. Rather unfortunate from what we're hearing. But away from that, go straight into the issues of education right now and get some updates on that. But before that, let's go back to see if we can get a clear connection.
Let's try for the last time. Dr. Jonathan Asantiotre, good evening to you. If you can hear us, hopefully the line is better.
Good evening, Beatrice. I can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. So I was saying that the NDC has met the National Peace Council and it has given the council some conditions ahead of signing a peace pact. And I'll just run them through. I'll just run through them for you. Just 6 of them. The party is demanding investigations into and also prosecution of the culprits in the 2020 violence, also those who are involved in ballot papers issues, investigations into missing IT equipment, and further publication of that investigation. The party also has issues with the appointment of what it calls party supporters to the Electoral Commission. President Akrofi must publicly say that he will accept the 2024 general election result, and security chiefs must sign this peace pact. Are these conditions the party is giving ahead of signing a peace pact reasonable?
Well, Beatrice, let me say good evening to yourself and good evening to Alfred and to your listeners. I think that what the party is calling the Peace Council to do, that is the precondition. If you ask me, they are in the right order because the Peace Council has been sleeping over the period. And all these issues are legitimate issues that ought to have been resolved, either by establishment of a peace commission, either by the establishment of an investigative committee. All these things could have easily helped because we know in our democracy, committees do really help because there's never going to be a report. And we know what happened at Ayawasu West Wagon, and the rest they say is history. But of course, the president, typical of who he is, did not in any way hearken to the demands and provisions and whatever the commission that he really asked to be set up, put forth for those considerations. And so if the FDC is calling for something of that sort, they are right. They have the legitimate right to make these demands. Now, the point is that where we've gotten to, and we have some few months to whatever in terms of the elections. Now, I can tell an authority that there is no way the Peace Council will be able to achieve all these demands. So the point is, where do we go from here? So probably the middle line will be where they are calling and asking the Peace Council to impress on the president to say publicly that in itself will be a kind of binding a bond between the president, the NDC, the MPP, their followers and their assigns. And that for me could be the right call. Because as it stands now, unless probably there is a change in power from 2025, 7th of January, or 8th or 9th of December, whenever the elections are done and then we see a change, most of these demands, I'm very sure, cannot be actualized because ideally, you do not expect your opponent to think, herself or himself. That will be very difficult because they ought to have done that immediately after the elections or immediately after the event. But nothing of that sort has been done. And unfortunately, too, we have the Peace Council that has been docile and dormant over the period because things of that nature, if they had called for it, I'm very sure that civil society organizations, the clergy and other stakeholders would have impressed upon the president to set up an investigative committee that will have delved into some of these things. But when we find ourselves, there is no other country apart from the one that we have. Now, how do we move forward? As my aunt will say, the forward going is what is important. And I think that if the president should sign or be bonded with that particular view, that in itself will help. So that should the NBC win the elections, they can set up these committees to investigate, and then we'll see those that will have to compensate, and so on and so forth. That, for me, will ensure that our democracy is stabilized.
Now, looking at the posture of the NDC, it looks like now the Peace Council has not been given any option at all. And listening to the way the Peace Council was speaking as we played the voice, it sounds like it is ready now to ensure at least it meets the NDC halfway for this peace pact ahead of the general election. How do you think the council can go about it? Like you rightly said, we have barely 5 months to the polls.
Well, meeting them halfway in itself, as a look they say, is better than none. Meeting them halfway is good. The rest could be assurances and some kind of bondings. That, for me, would be the best way to go about this particular issue. The president himself has delayed on this, and I think that as a country, we have suffered in terms of press freedom, in terms of bad governance, and so on and so forth. And so these things have brought our rankings and our ratings low. And so that in itself, we have suffered for it. And that will equally affect the MPP come the 2024 elections. No two ways about that. And so I think that we need the NDC to come on board, because you never can tell what they equally have planned. And that in itself is also a message. You see, some of us, some people felt that Mr. Sidin Kotia was, drumming was hitting the war drums. No. This particular issue has rather brought the Peace Council to them to ensure that this particular call is needed. And that is what is happening now. You see, it is always said that it's better late than never. Sometimes you sit down, you ask yourself, why didn't they act a little earlier? It is not that simple and easy, because they are funded by the state, and of course, the government is running the state. And so if you are going to interrogate an issue such as this, that will not inure to the benefit of the party that is in government. Obviously, they will not easily fund that. But if you had made that call in the public domain, I think that would have solved some kind of issue. At this point in time, the reason why, if you ask me, the NDC is making all these demands is because they don't trust the Peace Council. You see, they have their own reservations about the Peace Council and their activities and their doing. That is the more reason why they are making these calls and these fundamental conditions or preconditions. And that in itself, of course, they will have to themselves sit down and see the best way to go about this. The country is just one. We need peace, and we need to keep our democracy. It is good enough that the president himself has X splashed on his face with some of these fundamental issues that the so-called, human rights activists could not deal with, because those things were just by mere sayings, not by deeds. And so what we have now is that they will have to judge or sit down, bring on board all these, stakeholders. And some of those pronouncements, unguarded pronouncements, that the likes of Dr. Barney Champ, an apology of a PhD holder, has been making is in the public domain. And I will not mince words on that, because someone who has reached that particular level, you don't have to speak in such an unguarded manner. You have more investment than probably a third of the population. So you need to be very careful the kinds of things that you say. So the NDC is G3 one way, but they are also taking their security seriously, and they will want better commitment rather than these mere sayings and just documentary and symbolic gestures in terms of signing something that in reality do not really work. That, for me, is the government of the issue.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otre, he's political analyst at the University of Cape Coast. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us.
And the National Council of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, that's CTAG, has called off a strike with immediate effect. The National Council of CTAG voted unanimously to end the 2-month-old strike at an emergency meeting held earlier today. The meeting was also following CTAG's engagement with the government yesterday when they agreed to call off this 9-week strike. Now, the industrial action, which began on June 14, led to a halt in academic activity at all 46 public colleges of education. In a statement announcing their decision, the teachers stated that they would resume the strike if the employer fails to follow agreed roadmaps to addressing the outstanding issues. So they have a number of issues that they have put out there, including the decision, as it were, to have the arbitrary awards also fulfilled by the government. Meanwhile, students of the Accra College of Education are expectant of a resumption in academic activity following an end of this 2-month-old strike by the tutors. My colleague Grace Amoajiman has been speaking to some of the students at the Accra College of Education, and this is what they had to say.
But for the presence of some other outside teachers who have come here to write their promotional and licensure examination, the compound will still have been dead. I haven't cited any teacher or lecturer here. The students I have spoken with tell me that they have received no notice to come to the classrooms for academic work to begin, though they have heard that their lecturers have called off the strike. They have received the announcements of the call-off with excitement, and for them, they are only praying that their teachers will resume work, hopefully from tomorrow or by the close of the week.
We are not really happy with what is going on because we want our teachers to come back to school. As a level 400 student, I want to just have my time to complete school and then move on to what I have in life. So in a case where my teachers are on strike, it's really a problem for me.
There's also some fear at the back of the excitement because this is not the first time their lecturers are embarking on such a strike. And so they are pleading that government should fulfill 8 parts of the deal so that once their lecturers are returning to the classroom, they stay in the classroom and continue the academic calendar.
CTAG should please act in a way that their demands from the government should be met within the time, because we've been idle for over 2 months and what they are demanding for should be given to them. If they don't receive it and they come back again and the government is unable to give it to them, that means that they are going to go on strike again in the coming days or the years.
They have also made a plea for a flexible academic calendar.
For now, it's a mixed feeling because we'll be happy that they'll be coming back. And also the semester is almost ending. I heard that they'll be adding a month, this month we are in. Then we'll write our exam. And if that will be so, I'm not sure it will favor we the students, because a piece that we are supposed to use 3 months, almost 4 months to learn, they are to give us only 1 month to learn it, then write exam. I'm even sure the exam will be part of that month. So it's really going to have a great impact on we the students.
In the words of these teacher trainees, it's been 50 excruciating days of wait. But now that their lecturers have announced an end to the strike, they hope that their school compound will not only come alive, but also academic activities will continue and all shut classrooms will open so they can complete their academic calendar in one piece. Grace Amoajiman, College of Education.
That's my colleague Grace Amoajiman there. Let's go on to the telephone and have an engagement with the president of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, that's CTAG, Prince Obenhima. Zaima, appreciate your time. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening, Alfred, and thanks for this wonderful opportunity.
It's been a while. Throughout the strike period, you've been missing in action, I would say.
God has been sufficient.
See, right. So I get the understanding that this is a suspension of the strike, correct?
Technically, yes.
Technically, yes. What do you mean?
Yeah, technically, yes, because in the labor laws, we don't have anything like suspension. But in our minds, considering what we've gone through in the hands of the employers over the period from 2003 up to where we are, we look at the trajectory of events. we wouldn't, honestly, I must say, we wouldn't have agreed to call off the strike. But for the deep-seated respect we have for the highest office of the land, that is the office of the president, the office of the vice president, giving us the assurance to put his presidential what have you on the line to be able to see that things go through. And then we also confirming that in a formal meeting with the administrators, the technocrats, the day before yesterday, in a formal meeting at the instance of the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations as well as the Ministry of Education. We think that it gets to a time when we have to, suspend and live to fight another day. So on the basis of that, that is why we are we are being sober, and then we are, as it were, calling off the strike.
I see, but you were very clear, at least in the statement that you put out earlier today, that you would resume the strike if the employer fails to follow the agreed roadmap, correct?
Exactly the point, Alfred. Forgive my manners. I didn't, reach out to your cherished listeners for whose reason we are here. Let me greet whoever is watching and listening, and then the gallant members of SETAC across the 46 public colleges of education who have exhibited the highest point of tenacity and commitment by enduring all that we had to endure, having to go without salary and even all of that throughout the period to ensure, like Kwame Nkrumah did when he's not riding comfortably on the motorway that he, put in place. We believe in the fact that we need to fight. So at the end of the day, even if we are not there, people will come after us, will see better conditions for teachers in the colleges. I salute all such people. I must say that where we are now, as I said earlier on, we think that we've gotten to a point where we can reference the vice president because he has, come out, his office has come up. We should give him the opportunity to resolve the matters. In time past, other ministries and what have you gave that promissory notes where they could not fulfill. Now, here, we have the office of the vice president. If we say we wouldn't, we will look like a group of people who do not want to, listen or compromise. So we are saying that fine. If by October end and when all the timelines they've given, end, we don't see end to the problems. We shouldn't be held accountable for anything that happens. So for the love of Ghana, for the love of the students, for the love of teacher education, for the love of, everybody, we're saying we're going back to work.
And government has agreed to pay the July and August salaries, which previously the decision had been taken to freeze. For instance, the July salary specifically.
We have the firm assurance of the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations. Let me reference him, the Honorable Bafwe, who are my good friend and brother. We also have the firm assurance of the Minister of Education, Honorable Educhum, my big brother. We believe that they will all live up to expectation and then make our people, happy. So we are confident that this month they should be able to pay the frozen salary, which they, lawlessly confiscated in the month of July, alongside with the August salary, and then the all-year-round compensation, which we've been struggling. They should be able to pay, if not even all those whose systems are data, is ready for payment, and then those whose payment will not be ready won't accept any, countenance. It should be the fact that if they can't, it should be the middle of next month, they should be able to pay, so that we'll all be on the same page. And then the top-up for the book and research allowance, we expect that by the end of this month, that would have been paid. All these things where all these assurances were given by Honorable Alfred, which were who acted for and on behalf of the Vice President, and all these things were duly confirmed in the meeting by with the Ministry of Education as well as the Employment and Labour Relations. So we are hopeful that these things will be done at the end of the month, and we are tracking. That's why we've left the things open. We've trapped the media of Ghana, particularly Media General and the likes of you guys, who can, track. So every item, when it's supposed to be done, we believe you will track, revert to them, revert to us, and then we'll see how things are going to work out.
We certainly will do that, and that's one that our viewers and our listeners will trust us always for. But also, one of the concerns that the students have is that they have heard, and I want you to confirm this for me, that there's some sort of a meeting with Prinkov which has led to an extension of the academic calendar by an additional 1 month because of this 2-month strike that you've been on. And that means that they have to prepare for their exams in the next 1 month, and that's what they say is too short a period. What you should have taught them in 2 months, you're going to compress in 1 month, and that's going to be too much for them.
They are purely administrative decisions. We are paid to teach, others are paid to take administrative decisions. But in this situation and on this bridge, we expect that the Prinkov and the principals will have that collaboration and that discussion with the teachers. Because unlike some time past when we finished with this, we had to teach deep into the night. 10 people were still teaching. We're not prepared to go along that tangent. We want to have that beautiful discussion so that if it becomes necessary to jettison this semester and start afresh, we have to do that. So we are ready for open conversations. At the end of the day, it won't put untold, pressure and hardship on the tutors. So we'll be able to work. We shouldn't be blamed. I'm sure, the accusing finger should be pointing at people who refused to do the needful from May 2nd, 2023, when the arbitral awards came out up to this date when they've not been able to do. It's important to place on record, and I must say, since the institution of modern Ghana, 1957, SITAC is on record to be the only union that has embarked on legitimate strike. We've been on strike for 2 months. The National Labour Commission, mandated by the laws of the land to pronounce strikes illegal, has not been able to pronounce our strike illegal. So that's the only legal strike. And for emphasis, I just want you to know, this is the only legal strike that the nation has seen since Ghana came into being. And I don't see how and why we should be able to, fashion some kind of Rambo-style academic calendar extension that will not inure to the health benefit and needs of our members. We are open to discussion and all of that.
I see. So no decision has been taken, as far as you're aware, that you're going to extend the academic calendar by 1 month and then the students will have to prepare for an exam?
Officially, we've not been informed, and we will engage. But if it comes, we must serve notice that people are going to take decision and then seek to impose on us. We'll resist it with all the strength that we have.
So you expect to be engaged by Prinkov or any other body that will take a decision? That's essentially what you're asking for.
Natural thing to do. And yesterday, the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Honorable Bafo Ewa, said this, 3 days ago in the meeting. So we expect that, all the things we talked about will not end over there, but will be given that kind of, working that they deserve.
Zobenyama, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Extremely grateful to you, to Alfred.
Prince Obenyama is president of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CETAG, who have called off their 9-week-old strike. And the students are concerned about the 1 month extension, and they have to prepare for an exam after 1 month.
It's a very dicey situation. Indeed. There for them.
It's not looking good, but they expect to be engaged before any decision is taken.
Hopefully, let's hope they arrive at the right decision for both. A win-win situation for all of them. Let's bring you some politics here. And the governing New Patriotic Party is promising to follow through with the construction of the Cape Coast Airport and another to be located at the Upper East region with private sector support. This is despite an Auditor General report which declared that already existing regional airports are not being financially viable. And we're joined in the studio now by Dennis Wedham. He has details of this for us. And Dennis, the MPP is pledging to make Ghana the aviation hub for West Africa. How does the party intend to implement this?
Well, so if you reference the 2020 manifesto of the MPP, which was launched over the weekend, there was a specific promise that was made in respect of aviation and in respect of the creation of some airports or the establishment of airports. So a part of the manifesto reads, and I quote, that our vision for this sector is to make Ghana the aviation hub of West Africa, of the West Africa region, to promote tourism, trade, and to create employment. A Baumia presidency will, among others, then it goes on to list the creation of the establishment of an airport in the Upper East region, and then in Cape Coast specifically. Now, this has generated some conversation, knowing that a few weeks back, there was an Auditor General report that had to do with an audit of the airports that you already have, those in the regional airports. So I'm talking about Kumasi Airport now, Prempeh, the first international airport, the Tamale Airport, the Wa Airport, the Sunyani Airport, and then the Hu Airport. The findings basically were that all these 5 airports are not commercially viable. And commercial viability simply speaks to, are you making profits or not?
Exactly.
Does it make economic sense for us to keep running these airports or not? Speaking to the numbers, this report, which covers the financial year of 2022, simply says that expenditure in respect of these 5 airports was to the tune of $39.1 million. Revenue was 13.1 million. Sorry, cedis. And then the deficit. So when you take the expenditure, the revenue out of the expenditure, you have a deficit of 26 million Ghana cedis, which means that we incur the cost of 26 million Ghana cedis to keep
whilst running those 5
airports, which are supposed to be business entities. So that's how come the Auditor General comes to the conclusion that it is not economically viable to keep these particular airports running. Now, the Auditor General makes some recommendations that management should encourage existing and potential domestic air flights to patronize the airports by providing possible incentives to them. He also recommends that publicity drive should be enhanced to promote and market these airports to encourage more air travelers. And the last one that the Auditor General makes is that there has to be a reduction in regulatory barriers for potential airlines without necessarily compromising safety. Now, when you go back to look at the history of the Upper East Airport, for instance, this was particularly captured in the NDC 2020 manifesto. However, even though it wasn't captured in the MPP 2020 manifesto, when President Akrofi was in the region somewhere in October 2020, he was confronted with a request by some of the chiefs in the area, specifically those in Paga. Now, the request was that Paga already has an airstrip, so they wanted that airstrip to be elevated to the status of an airport. Akrofi responded in the affirmative to say that, okay, there's already some work ongoing, and they are considering whether to convert that airstrip to become the airport or to consider another place, which happened to be from between Avongo and Bokatanga. There's a place they call it Sergo. That there's another place that they were considering to see which of those 2 places will be suitable for the airport. That in itself had become a matter of controversy in the area, because those in that part of the region, the Sergo side, which is close to Bokatanga, which is the regional capital, wants the airport to be there. Those at the Paga side also say they want the airport to be at Paga because Paga already has an airstrip. But there was a conversation that because Paga is close to the Burkina Faso border, there will be an interference if aircrafts are landing or taking off. It means we'll have to go into Burkina Faso before they're able. So that conversation is already ongoing. So to see the MPP now come to make a firm promise to bring this airport into existence only leaves one to wonder how exactly they are going to cross over that controversy which already exists. In addition to the Auditor General's financial issues. It's a promise that has been made. But when you look at the economics of it, as we have seen in Auditor General's report, it does not seem that we need any more airports, either in the Upper East or either in the Central region or anywhere else. Well, let's get some professional thoughts on this, and we'll bring you some more. But that was Dennis Wedam there, bringing us details of the NPP's commitment to building 2 more regional airports and what the Auditor General is saying. We'll bring you some more later.
Well, while we are at it, also keep an eye on what's happening with the renal patients. The demand for renal services at the Komfo Teaching Hospital has more than tripled following the rollout of the free dialysis program under the National Health Insurance Scheme. Authorities at the renal unit say the 6 machines at the facility are currently inadequate, forcing them to stretch the services period for the dialysis equipment. So this is one that we'll keep an eye on as well and be updating our listeners on. Indeed, Michael Ogbodu is standing by with the latest in business. Don't go away.
92.7 Free FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station. Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello there, good evening. It's time now for the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Consumer Group opposes government's plan to reintroduce 15% electricity tax. We'll hear from Consumer Advocacy Group CATS International and Michael Obudu. I'll bring you details of our top stories and more shortly. Please don't go anywhere. Well, thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. Consumer Advocacy Group CATS International is opposing the government's plans to reintroduce a 15% tax on electricity tariffs. The government had initially proposed a tax but was shelved after facing strong public opposition. However, the International Monetary Fund has indicated that the government may reconsider implementing the suspended 50% value-added tax on electricity if the inflation rate continues to decline, as inflation concerns were the primary reason for halting the policy. Speaking to 3 Business, West African Regional Director for CATS International, Dr. Kusi Adomakon, criticized the move, calling it insensitive to the economic challenges faced by the average Ghanaian.
15%, the 15% is too much to start from. And if we are not allowing government to take the 15%, then what government needs to do, now that the Ghana card has come on stream, government should be able to explore opportunity for taxing incomes, because a lot of incomes in this country are not taxed. And even if those incomes were to be taxed, I'm sure that government will not have to burden taxpayers even for 1% increase in electricity tariffs. So in practice, government needs money and we have to support government to develop their country. But 15%, I think, in this economy where people are finding it difficult to get jobs and make ends meet is a bit insensitive. And I would suggest that maybe 3 or 4% will be good, and then government goes around and tax all the, even we've been talking about the property real estate taxes. When it comes to taxation, government likes the low-hanging taxes.
So that was Kusi Adumakwe. He's the West African Regional Director for CATS International. Away from that, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Julie Isiam, has reaffirmed the authority's commitment to registering informal sector actors into the national tax net. This move aligns with expert recommendations and taxpayer demands for a broader tax base and efficient collection system rather than introducing new taxes. She addressed the media at the second edition of the Society of Women in Taxation 2024 conference in Accra, held under the theme Taxing the Informal Sector, Policy, Compliance and Impact on the Economy.
In Africa, there's a whopping 38.6% of women who are in the informal sector and are entrepreneurs. Not just women, obviously, but 38% of them. So the informal sector is a big sector. They contribute significantly to this economy. So it's not a sector that we can forget about. So this year, the GRA strategy, all hands on deck, how do we partner with the broader community to collect taxes from the informal sector? As we're doing so, it's a partnership. It's not just collecting the taxes, but it's also helping them to build their businesses, understanding what their issues are. This is why when you see us, we are in conversations. We are not there only to collect taxes, but we are in conversations and dialogues. So it's a collective effort. They are more than willing to pay taxes. We just have to collaborate with them. All hands on deck.
You had Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Julie Isiam, speaking there. Away from that, energy strategist at Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, has expressed concern that Ghana is on the verge of losing the Tema Oil Refinery due to a lack of political will from successive governments. The National Petroleum Refinery plant has been left dormant for over a decade to rust away while the country spends millions of dollars importing refined products monthly. Dr. Sulemana urges presidential aspirants to make the refinery's revitalization a priority in their next administration.
If anybody tells you Tor is not profitable, I think the person needs to rethink again. Unless you want to say it is not profitable, or like the adage goes that give the dog a bad name and hang it. That's definitely what they are doing to the refinery. If the argument is that if nothing is done to Tor, it will outlive its useful life, which is gradually coming, yes, that's a fact. Because what happens then if a refinery is not growing? What happens then if a refinery is not running? It is a running of the refinery that will lubricate it and enhance cash flow so that reinvestment can be done. We haven't run the refinery for the last decade, and it's not a technical problem. It is just because we don't have raw material. That is so shameful. And these are rotating equipment, and there will be a time that you need it, that you will not have it the form that you left it, because there is bound to be wear and tear.
So that was energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, bringing an end to the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website at 3news.com/business. I am Michael Ubodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next, the sports.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen. Now on to our first story. The African Games ended many months ago, but the fallout from it keeps throwing up intriguing tales. And the latest is one that leaves questions over sports rights money and best practices. On Monday, the Minister for Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, claimed at the Public Accounts Committee that the government paid the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation in excess of $3 million to cover the games.
So much. Yes, GBC was the official broadcaster for the African Games, the 13th African Games, and I can confirm that full payment have made to GBC.
Do you have perchance what the amount was?
I can't recollect the exact amount, but I know that it's in the excess of $3 million US dollars.
You paid GBC.
That was Mustafa Yusuf, the Minister for Youth and Sports. But earlier today, there was a rebuttal by the GBC's Amin Al-Hassan, who is the Director General of the GBC. And in a letter to the Public Accounts Commission and the Ministry of Youth and Sports, he is adamant that the state's broadcaster did not receive any such amounts.
I was one of those who were shocked to learn that the Minister of Youth and Sports said that they have paid GBC in excess of $3 million US dollars. And I want to assure every Ghanaian and the public that GBC's total benefit from the African Games was $105,000 US dollars equivalent.
The GBC director also reviewed what the amounts they received was used for.
When you suspend a channel's normal programming, there's an opportunity cost, so it's used to offset the cost of the channel. not doing regular programming, so there's a loss of business. So it's important to point out that when you take an entire channel 24 hours for 2 weeks, it comes at a cost. And that was what the money was for. So it was for our operational, it was for our revenue.
A huge saga earlier today between the GBC and the Minister for Youth and Sports. We provide you further updates of this on News 360. But moving on to other stories, the Black Princesses are eagerly preparing for the Under-20 Women's World Cup in Colombia. Now, as part of their preparations, they will face Mexico's Under-20 Women's team in a pre-tournament friendly on 22nd August 2024. Defender Alexandra Emefate reveals the team is ready to go beyond the group stages where they have failed to qualify for in the last 6 editions.
I'm incredibly excited. The team has been working hard, and I'm excited for us to get to Colombia and show what we can do.
How well have you bonded with your new teammates?
Yes, it's been great. They've all been very welcoming, very accepting. It's been fun, especially in the past couple of weeks as we've gotten closer to get to know each other on the field and off the field as well.
That was MFA Alexandra Tay of the Black Princesses of Ghana. To some other stories, DC United, a football club in the USA, earlier confirmed the upcoming fixture between Asante Kotoko and DC United in the Capital City Africa Cup in Washington, D.C., which will take place on the 12th of October 2024. It was earlier revealed by the GFA last week about this set fixture, but now DC United have confirmed the fixture and it will take place on the 12th of October 2024. And to our final story, world number 1, Jannik Sinner in tennis, has been cleared of any wrongdoing after twice testing positive for a banned substance in March. The Italian tested positive for low levels of a metabolite of clostebol, a steroid that can be used to build muscle mass during Indian Wells. A further sample taken 8 days later also tested positive for low levels of the same metabolite. Now, a provisional suspension was applied automatically, but as Silla challenged it successfully, he was able to keep playing. The International Tennis Integrity Agency, ITIA, found Sinner was inadvertently contaminated with the substance by Giacomo Naudi, his physiotherapist. And that brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Beatrice and Beatrice, and the rest of the team are on standby with more.
Belishen, thank you so much. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time across all the 3 sports handles on social media and get some more details on this particular unfolding saga between the sports ministry and the national broadcaster GBC. But away from that, consumer advocacy group CATS International has also been talking about matters relating to the NPP manifesto promise, and the governing New Patriotic Party is also promising a number of things, which has gotten some reactions as well. But the former chairman of the opposition National Democratic Congress, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, says the NPP flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is a failure and should be rejected at the polls in December. He says Dr. Bawumia and the NPP cannot be trusted to deliver on the numerous promises they are promising after failing to fulfill those that were promised to the people of Ghana. Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo was speaking in Tema during a campaign tour by the NDC running mate, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, earlier today.
Edwuma hu
anka mabobo enti factory ba ko pe no anka mo hwe adwuma abobo a edi aba na yankasa dia order no nkodo anajo akanumpo ye ni baby a yes mu ya hwe football anajo na ye hwe say to me den kan ya ko sisi wo football den ka say enye bone den ka say enye ade papa enye bone utimi ko football no na den na utimi fa kan ya di binsi ho na won fa hwe no ma wa wo behia so nti obi kasa o ne kasa nipa ba ko nkwa no pa ma de nchi ye nkansa enfidie na timi ya adwuma sa ne ye ka o 24-hour economy no won say entinka sugar factory ekoko du baby ye twa ahwede no kono a ebi a me MP ono pa so ewia na wakon obefia na MP enu nso akobi ono nso ba na me boss enso so akobi enteju ba ko ne nipa se na ye ko kan ye bi no si o we nya je papa nya adwuma ye se nya bolo de fa o de bra o me kan je 1 cedi 2 cedi enya no na anya no ne 24-hour economy ye se o so fa o si se bra.
So that's Professor Nana Jeno Poko Ajimana Nator, a campaign tour in Tema. We'll give you an update on that shortly. 7 minutes after 6 here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond.
Let's say a bit longer on politics and aspirant for key positions in the People's National Convention PNC accusing the party's current leadership of mismanagement as they submitted their nomination forms today. They have committed to restore unity and bring back members who have left the party. There's more in the following report.
4 aspirants vying for flag bearer, national organizer, general secretary and national chairman slots participated in the process on Tuesday. General Secretary aspirant Awudu Ishak strongly criticized the current General Secretary of failing to keep the party united.
I have been a constituency secretary for this party. I have been the regional secretary for Upper West, and I've been able to combine that with the duties of an organizer when I became the national youth organizer. I have been able to communicate, and you believe that I communicated quite well at this particular moment in time of the life of the PNC. And now the Ishak ticket is the best ticket to take the party forward. I would disagree that the position of General Secretary had problems. It was the personality occupying the position of General Secretary that had a problem. One of the reasons for which we found ourselves in that tussle with Janet was because we have not been able to codify an elaborate and explicit constitution for the PNC.
A national chairman aspirant, Samson Awingobet, also did not hold back in blaming current leaders for the state of the party.
After 2020 election, there have been myriad of issues that we're expecting. By our constitution, the national chair is the leader of the election, is the leader of the party. What I saw was that the chairperson that we elected in 2020 could not help the party. Look, as you speak now, if you ask people about PNC, my PA went to do my filing fee payment. And even right away in the bank, a banker asks, does this party exist? So you can imagine, he didn't even know who is the national chairman or the national executives of the party. Can you imagine if the first came and they said that Asake Awingo Samson is elected the national chair of the great PNC? I tell you, MPP, NDC, they will be shaking their heads. Day in, day out. Do you even hear Super Authority? You hear Important Export Association. It tells you that the guy has something to offer. And that is why you are always on me for an issue, isn't it? We would deal with issues and we will bring the morale. We will try to, though I think in others who have left the party, we'll go and bring them back.
As the PNC prepares for its upcoming elections, these concerns have sparked intense discussions within the party amid calls for a smooth process.
So that's a report by Deborah Mensah there. This is your election command center. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's go to our earlier story of that meeting between a committee, a delegation from the National Peace Council and the leadership of the NDC. And we'll hear from the national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esiedu Ketia, who also spoke during the said meeting about the position of the party on the demands of course, that the National Peace Council is making for the NDC to reconsider their position on not signing the Peace Pact.
I've listened to your view, but we don't accept the fact that we should let bygones be bygones, because crime has no expiry date. The people who have been killed and maimed are people's fathers, breadwinners, sisters, and so on. And the cases are live. People are calling for justice. And they are blaming us for restraining them not to fight back in self-defense. Because we believed in peace as a political party, and when those things were happening, we restrained our people with the hope that the law will take its course. We have learned bitterly that for the past 5 years, the law has not taken its course. So there is no need to commit to any document that is lesser than even the law itself. So, but we are all interested in peace. This is the only country we have. Yeah. And we always pride ourselves as being the midwives of the 1992 democracy, the fourth Republican democracy. There are people here who participated in writing the Constitution. There are people here who participated in the transitional processes from military rule to constitutional democracy. And we are the last people to expect that anything will happen to blow up our democracy, because our grandchildren will have history to write and pride themselves that, oh, my grandfather has his signature in the Constitution as a constitutional father. And we believe that history must not be lost. The history must still remain that we created the 1992 Constitution that paved the way for a return to multi-party democracy. But we cannot sign to conditions which, in our honest belief, will not contribute to the sustenance of that democracy. If things are happening which we feel will undermine that, we cannot be part of it. We are sent to it.
Johnson Esiedu Ketia, the national chairman of the NDC, rejecting that position by the National Peace Council that the party should let bygones be bygones. The party is demanding justice and investigations into the killings during the 2020 elections. This is your Election Command Center.
Yes, and the voter exhibition exercise by the Electoral Commission started today in all polling stations across the country. Representatives of political parties were absent on the first day as the exercise also witnessed low turnouts. We'll bring you some more later. Let's go up north. And the prolonged absence of rainfall in the northern parts of the country has sparked fears of potential food shortages as several hectares of farmland plants have already been destroyed. There's more in the following report. And you're still here on Hot Edition on True FM 92.7. Just stay with us. Let's bring you some more here. And the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, has said that it has noted with concern the grant scheme by a number of institutions to engage in mass cheating during this year's West African Senior High School Certificate Examination for candidates. Now, the council says intelligence information picked up indicates that candidates in some parts of the country are being charged sums of money between $200 and 500 Ghana cedis. And we'll bring you some more later. Ahead of that, Organised Labour has also proposed a constitutional amendment for a union government. The Organised Labour says that a union government will foster political stability and economic growth. And we can hear Isaac Bampoado, who was addressing the 12th Quadrennial Conference at Gomua Fete in the Central Region.
Organised Labour, through its leadership, is concerned about the current state of democracy in the country. It also raised issues about excessive powers in the hands of the president to appoint board members and CEOs of government agencies. Through its leadership, Isaac Bampoado, Organised Labour has proposed a union government.
Account should be taken of the following, namely, the voluntary spirit that is waning, patriotism and selflessness as against egocentrism, national cohesion vis-a-vis ethnocentric governance, corruption in all forms, and indiscipline that has destroyed the fabric of our society. Isn't it time to consider introducing social partnership in the structure of governance in Ghana? Is union government not a better alternative? Let us all begin to ponder over this.
In another development, President Akrofi has pledged to uphold the integrity of the upcoming elections. He spoke about ensuring peace in the upcoming elections.
Any threats to the peace we enjoy, we must work diligently to secure our borders and maintain peace and security during this critical period. I have been and will always be for peace, and I encourage all citizens and organizations to do the same by rejecting the threats of misinformation and disinformation.
He promised to make Ghana a beacon of hope for Africa.
I will help ensure the conduct of free, fair, credible, and transparent elections. It is the will of the Ghanaian people, freely expressed, and not the will of any candidate or political party, however desperate for power, that will prevail.
And that report was filed by our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku. Let's return to our story about WAEC coming out with this information that there is this seeming mass cheating scheme ahead of this year's WASE. And we have John Kapi, who is head of communications for WAEC, joining us on the line. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Are you able to tell us more about this grand scheme of cheating you talk about ahead of the WASE?
Right. Good evening to your listeners. I think that what we have been able to gather so far is what we put out in the dailies. And as you speak, many more people have given us information about what they intend doing, collection of monies, arranging with people to be in areas where they can send information to candidates in the course of the examination.
And how much did you say is involved in this?
So far, what we've gathered indicates that they are charging between 200 and 500 Ghana cedis per candidate, depending on what subject you are writing. If it's a core paper, of course, the cost is high. And if there are elective papers, the cost is less.
Are you able to tell us whether or not you have caused the arrest of certain individuals who are involved in this? Do you have anybody?
Well, we have been able to pick up some leads. We are following up on these ones. we are closing up on a number of these people. But because of the nature of their operations, we don't want to come out openly because otherwise they could cover their tracks and then we'll lose out on them. So we are very close, and very soon, whoever we pick up will be able to put out that information.
So what it is that you're confirming at the moment there's nobody in the grips of the police as we speak?
No. So far, we haven't effected any arrests.
But we also do know that the WASI is ongoing right now. Are you able to tell us how things are going so far?
So far, we've done a number of practical tests, and the results have been positive in the sense that we haven't recorded any incidents. Everybody is comporting themselves. We are looking at next week, Monday and Tuesday, we have social studies and core mathematics. So these are papers that attract a lot of attention from all manner of people, stakeholders. And so that is where we want to be able to intensify our monitoring and ensure that nobody does anything untoward.
Do you have information of rogue websites putting questions out?
We have received some information on some people on Telegram pages. Now, monitoring them, as of this morning, for example, the paper started at 8:30, but then the information came out after 9:30. So it gives us an indication that there are people in the examination halls who are taking snapshots and posting them on social media. We have picked up all the leads and we are following up. As I speak, I'm still in the office. I'm monitoring some of my agents in the field. And also when we are able to close in on them, we'll pick them up.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, John Kapi. He's Head of Communications for WAEC.
Well, we are still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Want to appreciate you. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 this morning. It's on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight with the team. My name is Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Beatrice. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.